why I'm not saying nothing. Because I didn't feel like it was my place. I did keep Quentin, and I'm gonna start from the beginning. How I met Billy Joe and Leilani is through a lady that used to go to my church, Miss Sandra. Her and her mother, Miss Audrey, they're very awesome people. And she called me and asked me, told me the situation, and asked me if I was interested. The next day, I got a call from Billy Joe, asking me if I could keep her 2 grandbabies. And I said yes. Going in, I had never met them. I didn't know the situation that was going on with Leilani, Billy Joe, Danny, none of them. I started keeping them, and I didn't know anything at all. And then the more I seen a lot of stuff, and I was concerned. No, I did not call the facts, because I voiced all my questions and concerns to Billy Joe, the grandmother. She told me that she had custody of the boys. I didn't know why. She didn't tell me that. But they were staying with Leilani. Billy Joe worked out of town. So when I started seeing things that wasn't quite right, I would call Billy Joe and I would tell her. I would text her. She didn't answer. She was at work. She'd text me back and she'd say, okay, I'm going to talk to Leilani. Several times the boys were outside. One particular morning, they were outside in the ditch. My daughter seen them and come running in. We went down there. Leilani was nowhere in sight. I called Billy Joe. She got in contact with Leilani. Leilani was home. She was just in the house somewhere. They would drop them off with no diapers. They would drop them off with no pull-ups. And when the baby came, Sky, they wouldn't send no milk 2 days. I had to call Danny because Leilani wouldn't answer me, which is her fiance, to bring me milk for Sky. I kept texting Billy Joe. My daughter took pictures and sent them to Billy Joe of Quentin having bruises. Everything that I'm telling you can be backed up. This is not hearsay. This is not me trying to get attention. Who wants to get attention over a baby? We sent her pictures. I sent her multiple texts. She texted me back one day and she said, okay, I'm tired of this. I want you to keep the babies permanently until I can get back home. I told her I would, and I did. So it was about 2 to 3 hours later, she calls me back. She said, well, I'm going to give Leilani a chance. You know, she's a young mother. I've got to be able to try to trust her. She said, I did a lot of bad things. I got my kids taken away, and I want Leilani, I want her to know that she can do anything she wants to do, and I'm going to support her. So I didn't keep them day and night. Leilani made it clear to me that she didn't want me to keep them like her mother had wanted me to. So I kept them during the day. They dropped them off at between 5:30 and 6, and they picked them up. Was supposed to, their schedule was 3:30, but sometimes they worked over and said, her boyfriend would say, text me and say, I need to work a couple extra hours to make up hours, so can you keep them until 6? I would do that. We fed them. We took them places. I love them. They're kids. Like, who's not going to love a kid? So that's a little backstory of how I even met them. Okay, now let's get to the day that this happened. I keep them every day, Monday through Friday. I kept them sometimes at night. At 5:29, they text me. No, I'm sorry. Tuesday afternoon, they went home at 4:30, 5 o'clock. I got up in the morning at 5 o'clock on Wednesday because they usually got here around 5:30, 6 o'clock. I get a text at 5:29 saying, from Danny, the kids are not coming. Leilani is with them. I put okay. Was it a little unusual? Yes, because even when she was off, I had them. She didn't know that we could see her. They sit on the front porch, but if me and the kids, and my kids too, but mine are basically grown, would go to leave, she would be on the front porch smoking, but she would duck and run inside so we wouldn't see her. But I had no problem keeping the babies. Was it for money? No, it wasn't. I charged them. I didn't even charge them for Sky. I charged them for the 2 boys, and it was $15 a piece, $30 a day. Okay, so back to what I was saying. So I texted Danny, okay. Didn't hear nothing back from him. I got up. My husband went to work around 7:30. We was outside. My son also lives on this road, so he was going to work as well around 8:30. From 7:30 until 8:30, we was outside. We did not see Quentin. Nowhere. Okay. So then me and my girls, we go to McDonald's. They wanted McDonald's. I live on Chatham Parkway. The McDonald's is literally right down the road. On our way back, I get a text from Danny. He says, have you seen Quentin? I said, no, why? Well, immediately I called him. And he said, They couldn't find Quentin. Okay. So me and my oldest daughter here with me, we go over there. We get in the car and we go over there. I let my other daughter out. When we get over there, I asked, okay, he's a little boy. He likes to hide and seek. He likes to get in my daughter's closet and play. He could be in a closet. He could be in a cabinet. You know, maybe he's playing hide and seek. Me and my daughter help you look. They didn't want that. He stood there. He looked at me with the most coldest look I've ever seen and said, we've already looked. I said, okay. So I stood there for a minute and I looked around outside of where I was. Leilani was smoking a cigarette and Danny was standing there. And I go to get in my car. I was going to call Billy Joe, and I did call Billy Joe. She didn't call him. Leilani didn't call the police until I said, have you called the police? And then she calls the police. So we started to leave. Cops came behind me. I could not leave. I guess they said whatever was on the property had to stay there until after they checked everything. So I left. I came back maybe about 30 minutes later. I asked Leilani and Danny, I said, do you want me to take Zane home? So, you know, y'all got a lot going on. She said yes. Danny said yes. I asked them to get me some shoes for the baby. They got me shoes. I came home. I called Billy Joe. Billy Joe had no idea. I've never spoke badly about Billy Joe. But today, she came to my house after I told her, I text her. She called me at 6:30 this morning. I'm sorry, I'm everywhere because this has been a lie. She called me at 6:30 this morning. We were talking. Everything was good. I texted her. I told her I was going to cook, that we were going to get flyers and put them everywhere of Quentin, and that we was going to do a prayer circle over here. Never said that we was going to do a memorial for Quentin because I didn't believe he was alive or that he had passed. Never did I say that. And I can back all this up because we have cameras. Like everything I'm saying to you, I can back up. And you know, it's just ridiculous. So she told me basically not to text her no more because she thought that I was overstepping. Well, I am just a babysitter, but I took care of them kids when their mother didn't take care of them. And I don't really have nothing to say bad about Danny because he would actually ask me these last few weeks, Miss Michelle, did the kids have everything they need? Do they have pull-ups? Because Leilani wouldn't do that. Now, another thing I want to get to, Billy Joe, after she barged in my house, after all that, she come down the road. I don't live far from her. She barged in my house. This is all on camera. I jumped out my chair. She gets in my face, cussing me. I cussed her back. I said some pretty bad words. Yes, I did. Because she barged in my house. Okay, my daughter was also recording. She tried to take the phone from my daughter. She told me that she thought I took her grandbaby. Like, that is the worst thing that you could ever say to me. That is worse than punching me in the face. She did not hit me. I am not scared of her. She didn't hit me. She just yelled in my face a lot, but I yelled right back, okay? She said that I had sold her grandbaby. How do you do that? Someone that has been good to your grandkids, someone that has 6 kids of her own that are grown, how do you do that to somebody? And then she started screaming all the way down the road for my neighbors to hear. And like, I don't care because they know me. They know the person I am. And then she started saying that she paid $700 for my kids to go to Splash in the Burris. My kids are grown, okay? She asked me to take Quentin and Zane. Yes, she did buy the tickets. Just like I told the FBI agent, I never use them tickets. Them tickets are still there. The ticket thing is still on my phone. I never took her grandkids. I never took mine. She's never did nothing for me. I literally did not charge them a lot of money to keep these babies because I was worried about these babies. And not only me, there's neighbors up and down this road that has seen these babies outside. And I'm getting a lot of mad faces, and that's okay because I have the truth. Every text that I have sent Billy Joe is on these phones. Every text, every conversation I've had with Billy Joe is recorded in my house. So the FBI can check this. I don't care. Like, I never want to go bash nobody. I am a Christian, but a Christian can stand up for herself, especially when you accuse me of stealing your grandbaby. I would never do that. I don't have anything on my record. I've never had defects at my house. My kids are grown. My kids have done really good. Like, and I have no reason to judge anybody. I mean, I've did stuff in my life. I'm not perfect, but never the stuff like that. And I just love these kids. And I didn't steal their body. I didn't do anything wrong. So she can bash me all she wants to, but God don't like ugly. And it's going to come back on her for doing this, 100%. So somebody keeps asking me, do I think Leilani done it? I'm going to tell you this. that a mother that lets her kids outside, that doesn't watch them, that numerous people have seen, that they're bruised, they're dirty, and there's plenty of evidence of this. You tell me what you think. I told Billy Joe my concerns. I sent her stuff, and she didn't listen to me. So she can't blame anybody but herself for what has happened. Nobody. And I see a lot of people commenting, but I can't do that. I can't answer all these questions right now. I don't know much about what's going on over there. I don't know what the FBI is saying. I did talk to the FBI. They checked my cameras. I told them I would I called the police today on her because I was going to press charges. You can't just bust in someone's house, and I'm still going to do it. I'm calling a lawyer Monday morning. You can't just bust in someone's house and then try to take their daughter's stuff home and hit their hand. You can't do that. Like, that's not allowed. But this has got out of hand. This is about Clinton. This is about Monkey. And yes, I am just a babysitter, I guess. But I watched out for them kids more than their mother ever did. So you can say what you want about me, have all the opinions you want, but it doesn't matter because I know the truth and other people know the truth. And that is exactly what I wanted to say. That's it. I'm praying that Quentin is still alive. I'm hoping he is. I would love to just be able to see his face. He is a precious child. So is Zane. So is Guy. I don't know what happened to him, but I know what they went through. I know what their mother didn't do for these kids. And she didn't. So this is what I wanted to say. I wanted to come on here and say that Billy Joe can spread all the lies that she wants about me. It is about finding this baby, this precious baby. And God is in this situation. God knows. I don't know what happened. God does. But it'll all come out. Everything that happened will come out. So hate me, like me, I don't care. This is the truth. It is my side, but it is the truth. And like I said, I told the FBI, they have all these phones. They have all the messages where I've sent. Literally, he couldn't come over the other day with bruises, belt bruises on his arm and on his neck. I text Billy Joe. I never got a text back.
Right there, belt.
I just know that this baby.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. Sorry, let me start again. Good evening, welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist and a mental health counselor. That is a CBT therapist. Sorry, let me fix this. I hope all my subscribers, my viewers, and everyone is doing well. I'd like to start by thanking all my subscribers, all my viewers for the beautiful and kind comments you'll leave behind, and all the discussions, the mindful, decent, respectful discussions we have in the comment channel, in the comment section. We agree to disagree peacefully, professionally, mindfulness, and I love my subscribers, each and every one of them, because they have always such good insight of any case that we follow. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the contents in this channel, and please leave your thoughts and your comments. I would love to hear about what you all think could have happened in this case. This is a very sad and heartbreaking case of a 20-month-old baby called Quincy Simon, I believe. He's from Savannah. Quincy has an older brother not much older, I believe 3 years old or 2 years old or something like that. And Quincy was under the custody of his grandparents. Billy Joe is the grandmother's name, and I don't know what the grandfather's name is. This happened on the 5th of October. Billy Joe and her husband, they went, I don't believe it was a vacation, but I believe they went out for, a job, something to do with their work. So the person we were just listening to is the babysitter. But let me start by explaining what happened, if y'all haven't heard of this missing case of 20-year-old boy called Quincy Simon. His nickname is Monkey. It is so sad because Michael Wong from Idaho, who's still missing, his nickname was Monkey too. I hope he gets found. And I hope Quincy gets found too. Basically what happened is that the grandmother and the grandfather left, I believe on a work tour or something. And the babysitter, like she said, she's met the grandparents who have the custody of Quincy and his older brother, who's not much older than him. They both are practically babies, toddlers. So the babysitter lives in the same street as them, the way I understood, and the babysitter has been looking after these two boys for at least 6 months. She said they usually bring over the children around 5:30 in the morning, 6 a.m. in the morning, and they're supposed to collect the children at 3:30. But sometimes Daniel, that is the boyfriend of the mother, who's a very important role in this whole scenario. The mother is a 22-year-old woman, a young woman, and she's been living her life in not such a rightful way. She's been on drugs, and I believe she's still on drugs and all that. So on the 5th of October, like I said, the grandmother and grandfather weren't there. They called the babysitter and they asked her before they left if she could look after the two boys while they were gone. And the babysitter agreed to that. And the babysitter said that she charges them £15 per child. I'm just thinking of the word she said, per piece, like it's an item. But I'm sure she doesn't, I wouldn't judge her for that. That's a slip of her tongue. But it sounds so horrible to say per piece. This is children we are talking about, beloved children. So she said she takes £30 for the two children, but I believe she speaks about another child called Sky. So I believe Sky is a bit older than the two small boys. She said she would look after Sky for free. She said that the grandparents, that's Billy Joe asked her before she left if she could look after the boys for her, the two small toddlers, and she was willing to. And then later on, when Billy Joe left, Billy Joe called the babysitter back again, and she said that she wanted to give her daughter, Layla, I believe, I can't remember her name, Leanna, a chance, the 22-year-old mother who's on drugs. So obviously the babysitter has to agree. She has no choice but to agree. You can't disagree since it's not your children. And So it became that the babysitter would look after the children between 5:30 to, she was supposed to be looking after the kids up to 3:30 in the afternoon. But then the mother and her boyfriend Daniel would call and say, I'm working more hours, so would you be able to look after the boys a bit longer? Which she said, that's the babysitter said that she and her daughters that are much older than the boys would help with that without a problem. She said, the babysitter, you heard her, she said she loves the children. She's been looking after them for 6 months and everything seems to be all right. Basically, it is, let's remember, it's Billy Joe that has custody of the two boys. It's because the mother's up to no good, the 22-year-old woman. On the 5th of October at 5:30 a.m., that's early in the morning, the neighbor, who's the babysitter, received a text message saying that you do not need to look after Billy Joe and his brother today. I believe the brother's name is Zane. Yeah. So she's the babysitter said she was a bit surprised about that, and she said, okay. The babysitter said that she took her daughters and she went to McDonald's because the daughters wanted McDonald's 7:30 in the morning. I wouldn't advise anyone to eat McDonald's 7:30 in the morning or any takeaway. That's definitely not good for the body and for the heart. But that is their choice of food. So she said she drove down and she took her daughters. On her way back from McDonald's, and let's remember she said that she has an older son who lives in the same street as, that's the babysitter, as them. So I assume that the older son must be married or has his own place. The mother said at 9:30, Billy Joe called her, and I believe the mother, not the grandmother. The grandmother's Billy Joe. So the mother, Lila or Lola, whatever her name is, sorry guys, Leena, yeah, called her and she asked her, have you seen Quincy? Quincy Monkey, his nickname is Quincy Simon. And she said, no, I got surprised. I said, no, I haven't seen him. And then the babysitter said that basically they can see each other from their front porch. And this is in Savannah, near Atlanta. So basically, the babysitter said she got concerned. She drove quickly and she went to their house. And she asked the mother, when was the last you saw Quincy? And remember that the mother texted her at 5:30 a.m. saying that you do not need to look after Quincy today. So she said that the mother said no, she hasn't seen her. And the mother, the 22-year-old mother, his boyfriend Daniel was there too. So the babysitter and her daughters, assumed they're in their teens, early 20s, said, can we help you to look around for Quincy? He could be hiding in one of the closets and all. You know how children get around. And she said that the mother at once said to her, no. And she said that Daniel, the mother's boyfriend, Leanna's boyfriend, gave her the coldest look ever. So she said, ask them. So obviously she didn't intervene to check for the boys. She said, I asked them when was the last time they saw Quincy. And they said that, I believe, they didn't mention the pulse. I'm sorry. Because there's so many different news that are being given different timelines of it. But anyway, the boy was gone. So the neighbor asked them, did you all call law enforcement? And they said, no. So the neighbor asked Leanna to call law enforcement. Law enforcement came. She said we were told not to move, even the neighbors and her daughters, obviously so that the law enforcement could have more control over the scene. Just to see in case, obviously it's a typical way, no one in, no one out. She said they started doing thorough searches and then we were let to go home. And then the babysitter continues by talking about Billy Joel, that's the grandmother who has custody of the two boys, called her and she came to her and she barged into her house and she started threatening the neighbor, saying that you have my grandchild. And the neighbor's daughter was just recording. You know how social media is these days. Everyone, anything happens, people start recording at once, which is in a way a good evidence too. And she said that this is the neighbor saying that Billy Joe, the grandmother, disrespected the neighbor in her own property, accusing her that she did something to her children. This happened on the 5th of October. I believe on the 11th or 10th. The little boy hasn't been found. FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, law enforcement, I believe it's called Chatham County or something, in Savannah, have been doing thorough searches. They've done horseback searches for a couple of days. They have law enforcement on the ground, basically boots on the ground, searching ditches, anywhere a child could hide. They've been searching garbages everywhere. And the main important thing is, this reminds me, I don't know, from the side I got a bit strange chilling when I saw the little boy missing and I heard a bit of the timeline. It automatically reminded me of Summer Wells. That is my personal opinion. Or maybe it's just that I think too much about getting justice for Summer. But it sounds a bit like that because they said, Daniel said he was the last to see, that's the boyfriend, little Quincy. He said that he was playing with some toy, with these toys. And then around 9:30, no, not around 9:30, around 7:30 or something, allegedly they couldn't find him. So they called the neighbor, like I said. The neighbor came down, Daniel and Leilana, whatever her name is, the mother, 22-year-old mother, refused the neighbor to help them to search the closets, to search where typically a child could hide. Quincy has been missing since the 5th of October. The grandmother, Billy Joe, let's not forget, she was the one who called the neighbor and insisted that she wants to give her daughter a chance. She said that allegedly when the grandmother was younger, her children were put under CPS custody. So she's been there, so she knows that situation, so she wants to believe that her daughter deserves a chance. The neighbor said something that was important too. She said, I believe they live opposite each other because she said, I can see me and my daughters when we sit in our front porch, we can see their house clearly. And she said that from 7:30 in the morning up to when law enforcement came at 9:30, she said for some reason we did not see any trace of Quincy. Like I said, this happened on the 5th of October. Another important thing is, let me just recalculate, let me summarize, because there were so many things over here. Yeah, this is really important. The law enforcement have been called on that property the grandparents and the 22-year-old daughter and her children is property twice, I believe, within this year. The last time they were called was, I believe, a week or something before Quincy went missing. The reason law enforcement was called is the mother, the grandmother, Billy Joe, owns the property, she and her husband, and they were fed up of their daughter and her boyfriend, Daniel. They even pressed charges in court, which is pending, because they wanted to evict their daughter, the 22-year-old daughter, that's Quincy's mother, and her boyfriend out of the property. She said, I remember reading it, that they have damaged a lot of our property and items inside the property. And basically, the grandmother, Billy Joe, and her husband are in charge of the children. So she wanted the daughter and her boyfriend to leave. Allegedly, the daughter has drug and alcohol issues. Yeah, so that is so far what has happened. The Federal Bureau of Investigation are in the case. There hasn't been any trace of Quincy. I remember reading they have knocked on the doors and checked on 500, I believe, blocks of properties around the area. No sign of the little boy. They've checked the dustbins, they've checked the ditches, they've checked under different places where a child could easily hide, in people's gardens. That's why I said this case reminds me so much of Summer Wells' case. They've checked everywhere, but there's no trace of little Quincy. Another thing that is important is that the mother said that the mother told law enforcement that her, her baby's daddy, Quincy, his father, allegedly came and picked him up. I know I shouldn't be comparing cases to another, but then I don't know if you all remember the case of Samuel Olsen actually, but then it's Olsen in Norwegian and all. So that little boy, if you all remember, the 6-year-old boy, there was a big search out for him. I believe it was in Denver, Colorado, or somewhere like that. Or Houston, Texas. Remember that Daniel, his father, no, not Daniel, sorry, Samuel Olsen, his father, and grandparents were searching for the little boy, while all along it was Teresa Barbosa, I believe her name was, the psychopath who was dating the father. The reason I say the psychopath is, do you remember, a big search continued and a lot of interviews and everything was conducted on her and Samuel is the little boy's father. And then later on the FBI followed and they did a proper investigation and they found little Samuel, the 6-year-old boy, Samuel Olsen, they found him dead in a suitcase. You'll remember she dismembered the little boy's body, put it in a suitcase, and she was basically, the FBI made a bus in her motel somewhere a bit out of Houston, Texas. I hope you remember the case. He was such a little beautiful boy, innocent little boy. Recently, I remember her court case was going on too. So the reason it reminded me of that case is because Teresa, not the stepmother, the daddy's girlfriend, Sammy's father's girlfriend, do you all remember she said that his mother came with somebody imitating a cop, dressed in a cop's outfit, and the person showed her ID and said, "You better hand off the boy to his biological mother." And she said she did that. Do you all remember she used to come on the news crying and pretending the psychopath? And she had 2 children of her own that were under the father's custody, luckily. So that's the reason it reminded me a bit of that story, because the mother, in this case, Quincy's mother, told law enforcement that Quincy's father came and picked him up. I've read it in a couple of reports, but I can't 100% confirm that, because they had the police of Chatham, I believe, county in Savannah, Georgia. You could see that there was a little press conference he did, and you could see that. I like the fact how you should watch the press conference. I uploaded it to my channel earlier, I believe. If not, check it, because I believe he was not only a well-spoken and well-mannered officer. I like the fact that he tried to explain it as much as he can. He was very, what should I say, very engaged, very motivated about the cause of this case. But what I found strange is he said that the FBI is involved and that there's many searchers. I know in this case of Quincy, they refused any voluntary searchers, and I guess maybe it is to avoid people tampering with the evidence or planting something or taking something out of the scene. And that is exactly what I said should have been done in the Kylie Rodney case. When 16-year-old Kylie Rodney was missing, the whole of Prosser Lake and Boca Lake and all should have been, I know you can't shut down lakes and all that, it's a tourism place, but they should have been more protected. There should have been more cameras. They should have had their eye on the spot, because they knew that Kylie's phone last pinned there. So the way law enforcement in Nevada, Prosser Lake and Nevada County and Placer County and the FBI, I believe they dropped the ball seriously in that case with Kylie. So these ones I think are a bit a step ahead, which is really, really good and convincing. So they are doing, obviously, the investigation behind scenes, and they're still searching for the boy. They're asking anyone with any leads to come forward. We've heard from the babysitter that apparently Quincy, the 20-month-old sweet toddler, and his brother had marks on their body. They had bruises on their body. She said that they even had a belt mark on the neck. So there's a lot of things going on. But now let me give you all my thoughts and opinion. It's still too early to judge anyone. But this is what I see personally, and this is for entertainment purpose only. This is my view of how I see it. With all the active listening I've been doing within a couple of hours, accidents do happen. But even if an accident happens, you automatically call law enforcement unless you're up to something else. 5:30 in the morning, the mother, not the grandmother who has custody, the mother called the babysitter and said she wouldn't be needing her services today. Why would you call so early? I know that they usually drop off the child by 6:30. Why would you call at 5:30? I believe even 5:30, 6:30, they drop off the child somewhere there. But for the mother and her boyfriend Daniel to call the babysitter and say that Quincy and his brother's not coming in today would obviously be a red flag for me. especially if I was the babysitter, allegedly, because the babysitter's been looking after these two little boys for 6 months. She's the neighbor. She said I can see them directly from my porch. So that makes me think that something is not right, because this little boy could have been saved. Let's be honest. The grandmother, Billy Joe, I'm sure she regrets it, but she should not have left her irresponsible daughter and the irresponsible boyfriend who is on drugs too. Guys, hold on 1 second. Just needed to put off that light. Yeah. The mother shouldn't have let the irresponsible, what's it called? Sorry. The light always bothers me for some reason. It's always on the, and I'm supposed to be, sorry guys, I don't mean to get off topic, but I'm supposed to be, for the last 6 years, wearing glasses. I do wear my glasses when I go outside and all. And I do have my reading glasses and my eyesight glasses. So I've noticed I do not wear them, and it's really, what's it called? It's really weakening my eyesight. So I'll have to find a better, yeah. So to put it this way, this is what I personally believe. The grandmother shouldn't have called the babysitter and told her to let the daughter be responsible to look after Quincy, and Quincy is older brother who is a toddler too. Let's not forget, because let's be honest, such things has happened before. This is not the first time it's happened. But when you know that you have an irresponsible parent there who's up to no good, who can end up going back to, because she has a drug addiction or alcohol addiction, her drug addiction, she and her boyfriend. So the chances of her going back to her addictions is huge. The mother knows that her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend is not to be trusted. And the reason I say that without any judgment is that is the reason she took the children. She took custody of the two boys from her 22-year-old daughter. Because obviously, we all are parents, and if you see your 22-year-old daughter or son mistreating the children and not looking after them and all that, and you try and get custody of them, and when you finally do, that means obviously you took custody of your children, for the grandchildren, for some reason or the other. That means the parent is unfit to look after the child. So they shouldn't have, so guys, yeah, sorry. Let me go back to my light. Sorry for that. So basically what I'm trying to say is the mother knew clearly, I'm talking about not the mother, but the grandmother, Billy Joe. It sounds like a cowboy name. Anyway, Billy Joe knew that her daughter was up to no good. And then we're not talking about teenagers, we're not talking about even children that are 12, 13, 9, 8 years old. We're talking about two babies, literally. You do not leave your daughter behind or your son behind who's a young parent, and you know you took custody of their children because they were on drugs. Second reason that I take it as a not red flag, but that the grandmother, I'm sure guilt must be already killing her, so I don't want to add more to her problems, but it is the fact. We see it out there, we can't ignore it. The grandmother was very aware that Daniel, the boyfriend of her daughter, was as irresponsible as her own daughter. Let's not forget, the grandmother and the grandfather called law enforcement twice on the 22-year-old daughter and a husband and a boyfriend, because they used to do drugs at home. They were on and off of all that. And the grandmother did a right decision by telling the neighbor to look after them full time. But then when the grandmother called back the same day later and she said, no, change of plans, you look after them half time, and I've decided to give my 22-year-old daughter, who's full of bull, to basically look after the two children. That is really unacceptable, because the grandmother knows what her daughter's about, and she made that excuse saying that when I was young and I had my children, I made a lot of mistakes, and CPS took my children, and I basically did not get that chance, so I want my 22-year-old daughter who's on drugs to be given a chance. When you're going to do that, make sure you do that while you are there as a grandparent. Make sure you do that while you are there to monitor your daughter or your son, who's the parent, when you know they are irresponsible. That is very important. That is common sense. So I don't know what the daughter said to her mother, that the mother had a soft spot and thought it was okay for her to look after her two young children, which she's never good at looking after them, because it's not only what the neighbor said. I do believe the neighbor, although she was dragging it a bit. I think she's searching a bit for clouds on Facebook and all that. But I believe 85%, 90% of what the neighbor says. She would know the children really well, since she looked after them for 6 months. And little Quincy Simon was only 20 months. So she must have known him since he was a year and a half, a year and 3 months, something like that. She was the one who said that the mother wasn't good in looking after her children. The children would be out playing on the streets, playing in the ditches. She said that the neighbors know that. She said the neighbors have verified that to the law enforcement and the FBI too. Their cameras out. So that is all evidence. I don't think she would lie about that. And then, y'all know me, I go after facts. I checked around all the timelinings and the proper news reports like ABC News. And it's written there clearly that the mother said that she wanted to give her daughter a second chance. That's exactly the word she used. And the mother said herself that she believes her daughter's not up to any good. So she was kind of concerned that Quincy was missing. Now, let's come to the final part of what could have happened. This is my thoughts in it, and strictly my thoughts, guys. And leave in the comments what you all think. I would really love to hear that. A couple of things could have happened here. Daniel and Liana, or whatever her name is, the mother, the 22-year-old mother, and her boyfriend are on drugs. They haven't mentioned what kind of drugs. What concerns me is there's a lot of serious drugs like opiates, fentanyl, and such things, meth, crack, cocaine, mushrooms, name it. These people could be on any drugs and something could have happened accidentally. The reason I say that is because 5:30 a.m. in the morning is still quite dark. A little baby wouldn't just wander off. At least Dawn Wells and Candice Wells, when they said Summer could have wandered off, or Summer was in the basement, or Summer was outside. Let's not forget, although there's a lot of lies, and not even lies, false statements with Dawn and Candice, let's not forget that Summer Wells, Precious Summer, was 5.5 years old then, so she could talk at least. She could walk around a bit. I can understand a 5, 6-year-old, 4-year-old roaming off or getting up in mischief. I can't understand a 20-month-old baby. Another thing, I believe that the mother and her boyfriend Daniel are involved is because, let's not forget, there's evidence that she sent the text at 5:30 in the morning telling the babysitter basically that she's not going to bring the kids to her. Another important thing is the babysitter said that, and I've heard that she said it like properly. She confirmed that she said that even when the grandparents and the parents and mother isn't working, she still gets paid to look after these children. So just say, God forbid, just say these people, the mother and the boyfriend, Daniel, I believe his name is, just say they were on meth or they were on whatever or drunk and on drugs. It would have been easier for them just to drop the children off to the neighbor and come and get some sleep. But I think something happened to the little boy, and I'm scared that he got into something he wasn't supposed to. This is a little baby. Sad. He must have had one of their pills or something. Easily overdose could have happened. Daniel works. That's the mother's boyfriend. You could have taken him in his car, drove out of state, because let's not forget, they reported the boy missing on the 5th of October, 9:30 a.m. The mother called the neighbor and texted the neighbor at 5:30 a.m. So the whole night she had the boys. From when she picked up the boys from the babysitter, that will be on the 4th of October evening. Something could have happened on the 4th. And they could have, this is just my speculation, they could have drove the boy out of town. That is the reason maybe law enforcement and FBI cannot find the boy, the little one. Yeah, most of you all know me. That's the reason I use the name Hood in London. Hood is my first name, but London is my city. I love my city, London. So what I was going to say is, you all know I live in London, UK. But I've always said I've been on a couple of holidays and all to the United States and Canada and many other countries. But in that direction, I can say one thing. I've been to Atlanta and I've been to Savannah. I've been to a couple of other places around those areas. In fact, I was there for at least 7-8 weeks. And I remember my cousin brother and my family that I was living with, they took me to Savannah twice or thrice. It's a beautiful place. And I remember it had a lot of suburbs. So I was just wondering if they could have hidden the child anyway, basically. Because there's so much forests, open land, such things, that anything could have happened to this little boy, Monkey. Sad to hear another child missing called Monkey again. What a heartbreaking thing. And I really do have that feeling that they did something to the little boy the night before. The mother is very irresponsible, allegedly, and that we can clearly understand. There won't be any discussion. There isn't anything up for discussion that she was irresponsible. Others, the grandparents, wouldn't have taken custody of the two boys. I'm sure a grandparent that loves her grandchildren so much that she took the custody, she's a human being too. She went a bit wrong by trusting her daughter, and sometimes it's so easy to trust your loved one, whether it's your child or whether it's your partner, whether it's your family or friend. I know that there are many times that we think give people a second chance. But in this condition, it should have absolutely, absolutely not happened. I have this, actually, a friend of mine, kind of I call her kind of my cousin, you can say. But she's very close to me. And I remember her older sister, thank God, her daughter's now 15 years old, you know. Her older sister, his daughter was raised by the grandmother. And that's kind of like my aunt. And I remember 15, 16 years ago, my aunt had a rough patch with her because she had a son. The son he's in his 20s, mid-20s now, and the daughter's 15 years old. And I remember my cousin's sister, his older sister, which is kind of my cousin too, would busy get drunk, and she wasn't on anything, not on heavy drugs, honestly. But she was kind of an alcoholic. She would drink now and then, go to parties, do whatever she wants. And then my auntie got so fed up of her because she would just bring the kids over to, and she's a very well-educated woman. That is the strange thing. She has a master degree in media. She's one of the most intelligent people I've seen. You can still today have a beautiful, interesting conversation with her. She knows about the politic world, about different religions, about responsibilities, but the sad thing is, she doesn't imply it on herself. So she used to give my auntie a hard time, and we used to always have family meetings. We used to help her to babysit her. We used to have my aunt to babysit her children, the grandchildren, which is like I'm aunt to. Not only me, my other sister, all of us used to, as a family, we used to intervene. Because it got to a point that my aunt was just so done with her, calling law enforcement on her, because she would just come like this woman, Leanna, in and out of my auntie's life. But the good thing is she wouldn't, I think basically because of her religion and culture, she wouldn't dare to bring a man to the house. But she would do everything else. Like bring a party people waiting outside in cabs just to get quick money. And then she would be like, she would give basically my my aunt, a hard time. We used to advise her, when she was sober, she was the best person on the world. She's kind, very intelligent, very decent person. But the minute she starts drinking, she starts partying like it's 1969. She wouldn't give a damn about anyone. She would always where music is, she wasn't far from there. So point being, the only difference, my aunt was like Billy Joe, like Quincy, the little boy who's missing his grandmother. But my aunt, at the start, she would take a lot of nonsense. But then, after a couple of years, my aunt said, enough is enough. We helped my aunt out. My aunt filed for custody for both the children. The boy was already 17 years old and he wanted to live with his grandmother. And the daughter was 5 years old, 6 years old, I believe. And we are like a close-knit family. Like, we're quite a huge family, a lot of cousins. And no matter what, the little girl used to always play with my children, who they're cousins with, play with my other sister's children. She used to always be either with us or with my aunt. So my sister came to a stage that sometimes we were so tired of her, she'd say, I want to go on a holiday to Dubai, example, or to Scandinavia, because we used to live there. So we used to just wait for her to say that. We used to also, please do that. We used to gather money and send her off, just to give the children a break and to give her mother, my auntie break. At the end, it became to a stage that she started being such a headache that, like, we planned it. Just I to my aunt, all of us sat. We said, just take over the children, get custody over the children. If you don't do it, I told my aunt, I will do it, because this is not mentally right for the children. Luckily, she was at the start. It was like she used to kind of bribe my aunt. Okay, if you want me to sign over the children, do this and do that. And she's very smart in a way, but very kind of empathyless when she was drinking. And this all happened like 8 years ago. Now she's changed. Now she's become kind of an angel. But then age has caught up to her too, so she can't continue doing this. So basically, at the end, she decided to sign over the custody. The boy was already over 18 then, but she signed over the girl. So my aunt raised both of the children by herself. We helped her to raise the children, but I have to give the credit to my aunt and all my cousins and all. So it's like my niece never felt like she was unwanted, or neither did my nephew. They felt like they were really loved, really cared for, everything. Because their cousins were just like their brothers and sisters. From the start, they all grew up together. So later, my cousin sister changed her lifestyle. She started getting better. She started going back to work, everything. And now she has a good relationship with her children. A beautiful relationship. The girl is 16, I believe, now. And the boy is in his mid-20s. But what I'm trying to say by that is, the reason I gave you this example is, when my aunt took custody of the children, she made sure, and my aunt is usually a very soft person. I wouldn't say soft person, but she's like too kind. And that was the advantage her daughter was taking. But my aunt made sure that she put her foot down. In those days, when kids were younger, she says, say, if you come without appointment, I'm going to call the law enforcement on you. My cousin sister used to do that a couple of times, and Popo was called on her. So she understood at the end that, the good thing is she's a very intelligent woman. She understood that this was unhealthy for the children and for mom. And thank God she just grew out of it. And now basically actually thinking about it, both her children, because this was like 8-9 years ago, live with her and my mom. Just like this situation. And they all live well, and because my cousin stopped all the bullshit, and she wasn't on drugs. She was on more like alcohol and partying and all. But what I'm trying to basically say is, this is kind of like, this is actually a good topic of mental health. Boundaries is very important. Billy Joel, just like the babysitter said, if this is true, she said that Billy Joel should not have given her daughter half custody while she was away. That was, I believe, completely a wrong thing. If you are going to end up giving custody, or end up giving your daughter a second chance, do that while you are around. That is very important. Because Billy Joel made a big mistake. It's not only about her daughter being on drugs, it's about her daughter's boyfriend and her daughter, both of them were under domestic violence, doing drugs. She was evicting them from her house, the grandmother, Billy Joel. So she made a terrible mistake. I like what she said in the news. I don't mean I'm being sarcastic. She said, oh, she's good at some times to her kids, and at times she's not good. This shouldn't be a gray area. It's either black or it's either white. It's either day or it's night. Either you're good to your children or you're bad. If you cannot look after your child, why bring a child to the world to start with? And even if accidents happen, or even just say you decided that you still want to have a child and you haven't planned it well, then at least stand up and be a good mother. And if you can't, then the grandmother stepped in, Billy Joel. She did a good job by stepping in, but she did a lousy job by letting those two people, knowing what they're capable of, letting them look after their children. Because the police were called on them twice. Billy Joe was taking them to court, or she took them to court. She was suing them for damaging her property, damaging her items. She took custody of the children. Does that make sense? So all this was so unnecessary, and it's so sad because it costed, I hate to say that, this poor little boy, his life. I hope he's somewhere well, but we know how usually these cases end, and I just hope it doesn't become a tragic ending. But the daughter, another red flag, this is important, guys, that I notice is, up to today, the mother hasn't been searching, and the father, and up to today, in the press conference, you hear, what's it called? The news reporter asking the sheriff, one of the questions she asked was, why aren't the parents doing an interview with the media? And he said that I can't answer on. What's up with that? It sounds like the Candice Bly and Don Wells situation. They did an interview. Summer was missing on the 15th of June. They did their first interview on the 29th of June. And it is because Candice Wells got tired of everyone attacking on Facebook and everything. So sometimes the public helps by, by pressuring them. We're not supposed to target parents, but I'm against when people target Kylie Roddy's mother, example, because she is working with law enforcement. She cries for a child. She made a tribute for a child. She just told us to mind our own business. And many YouTubers and many people on YouTube, whether we're YouTube creators or YouTubers, many people are angry over that. We shouldn't be angry. The woman has every right. Because Lindsay Neiman came from the start searching for a daughter, crying for a daughter. She's been in each and every news report that was made. Let's be honest. But now you have Liana and Daniel, these two lovebirds who are living with Liana's mother and father. And then the mother and father adopted the two little boys. It's just so sad. So I wonder, these are my thoughts to end with. Either the little boy had an overdose, either, I hate to say this, guys, trigger warning, maybe one of them hit the child so badly that the child was hit to a point of no return, God forbid, because according to the babysitter, allegedly, the children had bruises over their body and they used to have belt mark on their neck. So was it Daniel, the boyfriend of the mother, who was abusing these children physically, and we don't know, mentally or sexually? Trigger warning, guys. So it's really sad. And you can see it's typical of a human being. If the babysitter is innocent, which I do believe, she said that Billy Joel came to her house and targeted her, like threatened and abused her in her own house, the babysitter. And then that is That is wrong, that is rude, that's unprofessional, that's illegal, but then it is a guilt trip. I'm sure Billy Joel is suffering of guilt that she gave her daughter a second chance. That shouldn't have happened. And I wanted to correct one thing, guys and girls. Let me correct one thing. I've heard a couple of channels, actually, lately, even in the Kylie Rodney case, and today, quite a big channel, when they're talking about this live chat, and I was cooking and I was listening, the person gave a long lecture and spoke negative about the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and she was asking her people in a live chat, what do you think about it? And she said, I don't have faith in FBI after what they did in Kylie Rodney's case, and they did not do anything, and they did not find anyone. And I've heard it in another channel too. So I would like to remind her and other people who are not aware of it, most of you all I'm sure are aware of it, is that the Federal Bureau of Investigation, when they enter a case, they're the only ones who can go from state to state. That's the reason the FBI gets involved. If something happens that could have been a possibility that the person was taken out of state or something like that, FBI usually comes in to provide law and enforcement of the county that the missing case happened in, like Quincy's case. FBI are just here to support Savannah, Georgia, with resources, with forensic data, with equipments and things that law and enforcement and the sheriffs do not have. But let's not forget, the FBI has more resources. They have more skills. They have more professionals. I'm not saying that law enforcement and sheriffs and the police ain't professional. I'm just saying that the FBI always comes as not the leading role. They are secondary to the law and enforcement that the case happens in. So to that person who was discussing it today for such a long time, I wasn't in the chat, but I was just thinking, I live in the UK, but I've been watching FBI movies and CIA movies all my life. And the KGB, I love spy movies, such things. And I love how the NCIS and the FBI, Homeland Security, how they all work. So I used to always know my history and my researches on what they do. So to that creator, you should understand that the FBI in Kylie Rodney's case, when she saw the man in the suit standing in the corner in the press conference, the FBI's job is not to overtake a case. Just say Summer Wells was missing, TBI didn't come and overtake the case. The case was always handed to Sheriff Ronnie Lawson. Tennessee Bureau of Investigation was just a backup, and the FBI. But Tennessee Bureau of Investigation got more involved in Summer Wells' case because let's not forget the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation works with foul play, human trafficking, gang-related organization crimes, all those things. So that is the reason. That's why I always believe when people tell me that the Wells, some few people say, I don't think they did anything. Someone was kidnapped. No. If someone was kidnapped or abducted, believe me, TBI would have walked away a long time ago. They know exactly what's happening, but they just need to find the body. God forbid. I hope we really find Summer, and I hope she's alive. I hope we find Quinn Simon, I believe his name is, or Simon. I feel really sorry for that boy. Monkey's his nickname. My prayers goes out to Billy Joel, the grandmother, her husband, the grandfather, even to the mother. If she was on drugs, I wouldn't say that She's not to blame. She's to blame for bringing children into this world at such a young age if she can't be responsible to look after them. And it's not one child, it's 2 children or 3 children, I believe. But what I'm upset at is the fault is not only hers. The mother was aware of what her daughter was about. She knew that the daughter was incapable to look after children. So she should have never left the children alone with the daughter. That is my take on it. And so much searches has been done, horseback searches, land searches, door-to-door neighbor, 500 block searches, and there's still no sign of the little boy. That's the reason I believe that, don't forget, they picked up the 2 little boys, the missing boy Quincy and his brother were picked up from the babysitter around 5:36. So they had from the mother and her boyfriend Daniel had from 5:30 up to the next morning 5:30. They could have easily drove them to another state. Or, yeah, Georgia is big. I've been to several places in Georgia, so they could have just drove a 1-2 hours drive and hit the child somewhere, God forbid. And the babysitter even said that whole day she was sitting in the porch with her daughter and she saw Quincy's mother, the 22-year-old Liana, coming outside and smoking. As soon as she saw them, she would run inside. So there's something not right going in. They refused the neighbor and the neighbor's daughters to help to search for the little girl. She said the mother's boyfriend gave her a hard and cold look. She said even that the grandmother, Billy Joel, came to her house, and when she came, she was trying to snatch the phone from the daughter who was recording. I wonder if she was actually trying to snatch the phone because she was recording, or was she trying to get the phone on her hand so that she could delete texts. I'm just saying, just a thought. But something's not right in this case. It's been already 5-6 days. I hope that little boy survives wherever he is. Guys, besides that, I would love to warn everyone about the awareness of the fentanyl that's going on. The rainbow of fentanyls just look like candy. Be careful, it's Halloween soon. One pill can kill campaign is something that I'm very keen on spreading, because this is serious drugs and that comes part of the mental health too. Anyone with drug addictions end up in counseling usually, even if they end up in rehab. Many people misunderstand the rehab. Part of the major part of the rehab is counseling. Then you see with Quincy's mother and her boyfriend, the police were called on them, not only the drug abuse, but domestic violence. So all these comes under mental health. And when you look at the fentanyl episode, it's definitely mental health case. Because you can imagine losing a young, innocent child who doesn't know that the pill is laced with fentanyl. Anything can happen. If that child dies, you have a whole family, parents, siblings who will be suffering of mental health illness like depression, anxiety, that can later on take them down to PTSD or even worse mental health illness. So guys, please look after your children. If I don't know, people are different. If I was in the United States, or whoever celebrates Halloween, many people celebrate it in the UK, I don't. I remember when my children were younger, they used to celebrate it a bit. But whoever is celebrating it, I would advise you all. I was telling one of my friends in the comment today, she said that there's so much going on with this fentanyl that I think I'll have to, she said I have grandchildren, so I'll make sure my grandchildren are well observed by their parents and all, I guess. But I wrote a comment and I said, if I was you, I said I wouldn't have I would have let my children, given other children sweets and candies, but I wouldn't have let them take it from other children in case, because those are other children, in case their family and their parents are not aware of the fentanyl or opiate could have been put in those candies, because now they're doing it on Lego toys too. So guys, this is a serious awareness. Please look after your loved ones. Pray for everyone. Pray for Ukraine and Russia, because the war seems to be getting worse and worse. And then we saw uploaded, guys, I hope you all saw that sad case that happened in Thailand with the guy, ex-policeman or policeman, who had mental illnesses and problems, issues, went and killed 32 people in the nursery. 20 people were children and 10 were adults. So there's a lot of things going on. Look after yourselves. Stay blessed. Guys, please spread the awareness of fentanyl. Spread the awareness of Quincy. If anyone has seen something, say something, please. Please do that, whoever knows anything about this case. And I hope that there's still hope for the little boy, Quincy. And I pray, and I'm still praying for Summer Wells to be found. I hope that this doesn't become into a cold case. Yeah, that's about it. Everything else is okay, guys. And I just hope that, yeah, everything's okay as long as we spread the awareness of fentanyl. And coming back to the fentanyl, I really believe, honestly, I don't talk much about that case of Kylie anymore, but I wouldn't be surprised if she has overdosed and it was fentanyl. Because Sammy kept on saying they were sharing the same drinks. There's something about the drinks. It's really sad. And there's a lot of fentanyl-related overdoses growing rapidly in over 24 states, but it's been hitting Placer County hard for a long time. There was even one guy, the guy who's standing with Jagger in the interview. He apparently gave a 15-year-old girl, allegedly, a pill that was laced with fentanyl, and he was arrested 4 days after Kylie was missing. I wonder if he was in the party and if he could have distributed those pills to Kylie or Sammy, and they could have spiked her drink. Anything is possible, but I do believe that it's Kylie's car that is going in the lake. I wish it wasn't, but we can clearly see it. I'm fed up of all these channels sitting and discussing nonsense. Or it couldn't be a car, and this could have happened, and the car halted for a second and then it went in. Guys, that is part of another thing with mental health. Sometimes we just need to accept things for what they are. Because now we are doing to soothe our own selves and put it in our mind that it actually happened this way when there's a camera and the camera wouldn't lie. Although I won't lie, I thought to myself for a second, could they have tampered with the timing since it was military timing? But no, that's not even, I don't think that's possible, because that's the forest fire cameras. Anyway, let's see how all this unfolds. But I hope they find the little boy, and I hope they find Michael Wong. I hope they find Lena Keel Sadat from, was it San Antonio, Texas? There hasn't been any new updates. Besides that, guys, please like, share, subscribe. It will help me to spread the awareness, the positive awareness for all of us in our communities, in our countries, and in the world. Because mental health is real. Look after yourselves. Take good self-care. Look after your loved ones. Look after yourself. Like Kylie Rodney's mother said the famous words, take a walk with your mother. Do something in your free time. Read a book. Did she say read a book? Well, I'm saying that. Have a learning journal, like they say in cognitive behavior therapy. Write down your thoughts if you're under depression or anxiety. Yeah, and stay blessed, guys. Love y'all. Bye.